Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Monday, November 3rd, 2025, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm going to square my hat up here a little bit. I've got a kind of really unusual story for you today, and this is going to be a Bigfoot Stuff story, but it kind of isn't. And so let me, it's going to be kind of lengthy. And this is the first take, and we'll see if we can get the story told, because it's an ongoing story, and it's something that some of you might be able to help us with. So let me tell you what happened. A little over a week ago, the fellow that I call my friend in Utah, he contacted me, and he was awake in the middle of the night, and he got some mind speak. And he said it was unlike any mind speak he'd ever had before. And so he responded back to it, and he was talking to a young female named Marlene. And but it turned out, as he started talking to her a little bit more, Marlene was not a Sasquatch. She was not one of the forest people. She was the spirit of a human who had died. And she told my friend from Utah, to make it easier on this one, I think I'm just going to call him Utah, because there's another somebody else that's going to be involved in this too. Anyway, so she told Utah that her body had never been found, and that it was in the woods. And then he got kind of a quick visual of what looked like a single column newspaper article with a picture. And it was like a missing person story. And the young female in the newspaper article had dark hair. It was an old, faded kind of article, and he said it reminded him of when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, and eventually it starts blurring out to where you can't read it anymore. He says it was kind of like that. He couldn't read what it said, other than he had the impression it was like a missing persons article. And at the top of it had a picture of a female, and the hairstyle and such was indicative of maybe the 70s. And he got the number 1970. And he said the lady had dark hair. A young woman had dark hair. He says it might even have been like a high school graduation photo. And the hairstyle was kind of puffed up on top. And he said it kind of reminded him of Mary Tyler Moore when she was in the Mary Tyler Moore show years ago. And that's kind of what the hairstyle looked like. Well, the communication was kind of hit and miss, and he didn't really get a whole lot. But he'd given a visual of a young woman walking down a rural 2-lane road, like maybe a hitchhiker or something. And then she was gone, and he couldn't get anything more from her, and he couldn't get back to her. Well, he called me to tell me about this, and we have another one of our people that I deal with quite a bit, and she's a medium, and she lives in western Nevada, over near Reno. So I'm going to call her, for the purpose of this story, I'm going to call her Nevada. So I reached out to her, and she's been communicating with the departed for decades, and so she kind of understands the difference in the connection and stuff. So I reached out to her, and she immediately came back to me while I was on the phone with her, and she said there's another female involved in this story named Candace. And she said, I don't think this was a murder, because that's where Utah initially went. You know, his mind went to, I guess we've been watching too many crime shows, but his mind immediately went to that maybe she was murdered and her body was dumped in the woods or something, like a serial killer thing or something. And so Nevada came back and said, no, that's not the case. There's no foul play involved here. And she thought, she got immediately that maybe this young lady died of exposure. And so she said she'd try to see if she could get a little more information on it. Well, this has been going on now for about a week. And So Utah, he went out and was talking to the Sasquatch family folks that live near him. And most specifically, he was talking to a young male named Rake. And he and Rake have pretty good mind-speak communications. They understand each other pretty well. And so he asked Rake if Rake could try reaching out and seeing if he could get any more information on this young lady named Marlene. And Rake said he would do that. And he came back and said he couldn't. He was not able to reach her. He was trying to. And well, in the meantime, Jolene, you've heard me talk about Jolene before. Now, Jolene she's a female Sasquatch and a big personality. She lives up in Idaho, and she has a job. And her job is that she's a keeper of some portals that the forest people travel through. And so because of that, she knows people all over the place. It's kind of like everybody knows Jolene, and Jolene knows everybody. Well, Jolene apparently was eavesdropping on Utah's conversation with Rake. And so she came in and she says, "Can I help?" Well, obviously, she knows a lot of people. So Utah says, "Well, sure, absolutely. Do you know people back I missed something to tell you, and that was that Utah was getting he was trying to figure out a location, and he was getting somewhere. He got a hit on Illinois, and then he also got a hit on Wisconsin. And so we were kind of thinking maybe northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, the border area up there. That's what originally we're thinking. So he asked Jolene, he says, do you have contacts back there? Oh, yes. And so she said she'd kind of look into it and see what she could find out. Well, then I was kind of relaying stuff back and forth between Utah and Nevada, and they've talked before, so I said, well, why don't you guys, talk to each other on the phone? Just keep me in the loop. Let me know what's happening. So they've been doing that. Well, Nevada has found out a little bit more, and she's been sharing that with Utah, and they've been letting me know what's going on. And where we're at with this right now is that we're down we kind of zoomed in down in southern Illinois, right on the tip of Illinois. And somewhere in the vicinity of the city of Carbondale. And what we've come up with is that this other name, Candace was apparently a friend of Marlene's. And they apparently were partying out in the woods somewhere, possibly in the Shawnee National Forest area, which is right there around. There's several units of the Shawnee National Forest in southern Illinois. And they're possibly out in this on this national forest area, maybe at a trailhead or maybe a campground. And they were partying and they were drinking and doing drugs. And that Marlene had apparently walked off away from the group. It was at night, apparently. And she apparently had some kind of reaction to the drugs or something similar to that. And maybe she walked off into the bushes to relieve herself or something. We don't have that really clear. But she left the group and she had a reaction. And apparently the group, when they got ready to leave, they went looking for her and they found her. And she was down and they thought she was dead. And so that, and they got scared, and like typical dopers do. And so they left her and they never reported it. Well, what Nevada got was that this Candace is still alive and still around, and that she's tormented by guilt because of this. And but also we got some other connections. Now, initially, Utah was given to believe that this was given the date 1970. And so he thought this was a real cold case that happened over 50 years ago. Well, Nevada's not getting that. She's getting that it happened somewhere between a year and a half ago. And also she got that there's some kind of connection to a university in Carbondale, which is the home of Southern Illinois University. There may be other schools there as well, but that's the one I know about. And also that it's possible that this Marlene was either a student there or possibly worked there or worked around the campus somewhere. Possibly as a server at a restaurant, and that possibly Candace and she both worked at the restaurant. That's how they knew each other. So that's kind of, and then Utah was given another visual. He was shown the newspaper clipping picture a second time. He still can't read what it says, but he saw the picture. And that he was also given a visual of a parking area, like a parking lot, maybe either at a campground or more likely a trailhead. And there's a number of trailheads in Shawnee National Forest in that area. But what he remembers about the trailhead was that there were white painted posts surrounding the trailhead between the parking area or surrounding the forest area between the parking area and the woods. White painted posts, which is probably not all that uncommon, but it might be a clue. Well, then Nevada got back that there was also there was a male involved and that he drove the car, and that there was other people in it, and they were all young adult probably, so probably university age, that kind of thing. And so she distinctly got this. There's no foul play involved in here. This was not a homicide. She actually died of exposure to the elements, but her body's never been found. If she was a runaway or something and her family never missed her, there may have never been a report made. And she indicated on that very first communication that her body had never been found, and also that the police investigation never went anywhere. Well, there probably was somebody reported her missing. Otherwise, there would not have been an article in a newspaper somewhere about her. But we still are unclear on the time element, whether this is a real old 50-year-old cold case or whether this is just something happened within the last year and a half or so. So this is where you come in. So if any of you are mediums, and I know there's some other people that are mediums that watch my channel, or if any of you should happen to live in that area of southern Illinois, around Carbondale, and are familiar with that, and remember, if this story about a missing young lady named Marlene rings a bell with you, let me know. I'll include my email address in the description on this video, and let me know. Or if these names that I've given you ring a bell, let me know, because we'd like to see if we could solve this and release this young woman's spirit, because she's apparently, as long as her body's laying out there, she's tormented by this. Now, the most recent thing we've heard now is Jolene got back with us, and we think that Jolene, through her contacts, her Sasquatch contacts, that we're pretty sure that she knows where Marlene's remains are. And we were given that they've been scattered by scavengers and so forth, because it's been a while. And so we're still trying to tie in on that angle. And so we're trying to learn what's happening here. Now, I told you this was a weird story, and it is a weird story. Now, earlier today, when I was sitting rehearsing for this before I turned the camera on, when I got to the point about we've never gotten the last name, I had a name pop into my head. And so I stopped what I was doing, and I did a bunch of internet research on this name. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I don't want to taint any investigation that you might have. But what I did come up with is I came up with a recent missing person involving a 28-year-old female out of the Pacific Northwest with a very, very similar name. I don't think that this has anything to do with it. But anyway, so we still don't know. There's a Wisconsin connection we don't know about, but we think that we understand what happened here. We're trying to get a better location on where Marlene's remains might be. And interestingly enough, when Utah asked Jolene if they're people get concerned about stuff like that. Jolene just came back and told him, well, humans do dumb stuff all the time. Like she just, like it was, humans do stuff like that all the time, and so they don't really concern themselves with it. But anyway, that's the story, and that's where I'm at right at the moment with it. Like, it's a developing story. We're learning more. So if any of you have anything to contribute to that, be sure and let me know. I'll pass it on to the others. And we're doing some real weird paranormal detective work here. And I think we're gonna end up ultimately resolving this. Now, if we do, and we know where her remains are, it's a possibility if we contact the authorities back there that they'll just blow it off that we're a bunch of nut jobs. But at least we'll give it a go. So that's my video for today. It's like I say, it's plenty weird. Way down the rabbit hole. Started off crazy and gets crazier. The crazy train just keeps on running. So let me tell you, as I always do, take care of each other, love each other, take care of yourselves. Remember, there's a whole lot out there that we don't understand, and show gratitude for what you got, because somewhere, someplace, there's a family that's missing a daughter, and they very probably have no idea whatever happened to her. And just maybe we might be able to help them get some closure on that. So until I talk to you again, let me just tell you, peace out.